Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Hey, Stella! You got him, Jack! I love you! Have fun storming the castle.
When the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
Tell them we'll have punch and pack. We're not gonna have punch and pie. My bill will come if they think we have punch and pack.
Hello and welcome to Frame to Frame, part of Punch and Pie Media. We are the podcast that take two seemingly unconnected films and slam them together like the Grand Canyon on a face and memories of Jim Carrey. I'm Andy Williams.
And I'm Sean Wilson.
And this week, once again, we've got a very special guest here to help us talking about these two movies that have titles based off of poetry. He is the host and co-host of Academy Watch and Movieversaries, respectively. Please welcome to the podcast, Bo Nicholson.
Hey, cheer! Hey, woo!
Woo!
It was nice hearing. There it is. We it was better than hearing like, "You get nothing, you lose." No, anything else.
Or just someone going boo.
Suck it, Bo. Of course.
Suck it, Bo.
Yeah, there it is, the classic. Good to be back, lads. Good to be back, and nice to hear the Punch and Pie Media little shout out there. Welcome.
That's
to the
taking
club.
some getting used to. That from my point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, we've changed a couple of times over the years, haven't we? Whenever we made this, and Film Stories had name changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now we're going independent. So yeah, welcome officially from me.
Sweet.
Well, thank you very much. We always talk, Bo, you and I especially, about where people can find you. Where is it that you're hanging out these days, considering Twitter's now a bin fire?
Yeah. Look, honestly, the main thing would be Instagram and Bluesky, and links can be found in the Linktree that'll be in the show notes. So if you want to listen to my shows, there's links in there. Movieversaries.pod. Yeah, our shows, of course. Movieversaries.pod is the Instagram handle, and you can find Bo Nicholson on Bluesky.
I'm sure I'm speaking for Andy here as well when I say that it's delight going on Movieversaries, and we both really enjoy it and getting to share our thoughts. Yeah, it's really good fun.
I co-host that bitch now, Sean. I've invaded fully.
Yeah, and
you're an invading force.
yeah. The Germans to Poland, you know. And I am.
Well, let's not get into that.
I do have Polish heritage, actually, so that's.
Oh,
fun.
do you?
Yeah.
Never knew that.
Varniki. Varniki is my grandmother's maiden name, and that's Polish. Academy Watch also, and Sean was on that one pretty recently.
Yes, I was. Yeah. Always
music
cathartic.
Scores. Yes, that was a great episode.
I wasn't invited on for this season.
You were invited on to Project Hail
fort.
Mary. So
that's for next season. That's for next year.
That's a good one to get. That's a good get. That
Yeah.
for Project Hail Mary.
the current season.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, you settle down, mister.
But I was manning the fort over on Movieversaries with the great Ian Buckley, and a still to be released episode with the great Violet Hammond as well. But today we're talking about films with poetry titles. So, you know, it's actually quoted in the first movie that we're going to be discussing. The title of the film comes from a quotation from Eloisa to Abelard by Alexander Pope. Bo, you have been volunteered to tell us a little bit about the plot of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
And I will. So Joel, played by Jim Carrey, wakes up in a funk. He skips work. He takes the train to the beach. It's winter in northeastern North America, so not going well. Bad day for the beach. But a woman is there, and they strike up a relationship. Her name is Clementine, played by Kate Winslet. She is effervescent. She's unpredictable. Jump forward. Joel is crying uncontrollably in the car. He tries to see her, but she acts like they've never met. Turns out she's had a procedure done at some back alley clinic, medical center, to have Joel erased completely from her mind. Distraught, Joel commits to do the same. But after consenting to this procedure, Joel starts to regret his decision as his treasured memories of Clementine start disappearing in his mind, and we see that procedure happening, and most of the film plays out in Joel's mind. which and this is like absolutely one of my favorite movies. So as soon as you guys were talking about it, I think Andy, knowing that, has roped me in. So this is where we are. I talked about this a couple of years ago on Movieversaries. That intro synopsis might have been very similar, in fact.
I was going to say it's a really good, efficient synopsis, given how tricksy the structure of the film is. I applaud it for actually summing it up as well as that.
I think it's actually the same notes.
Yeah, it was written a couple of years ago, and I may have quickly found the file when we talked about me doing this intro.
Convenient.
So yeah,
but I do encourage anyone to go back and listen to that episode of Movieversaries, which you did with Baz Greenland.
Yes,
it's a really great episode, and it was the last time before this I'd watched Eternal Sunshine.
Me too.
Sean, what do you bring to Eternal Sunshine? Are you very much of a mind that it's one of your great films with a capital G, as we always say, or are you a little bit more cooler on the whole thing?
No, I really, really like it. And I should say, for the record, this is only the second time that I've watched it. The first time I watched it was either in the cinema or when it came out on DVD. So this would have been 2004, 2005. So a long, long time ago since I watched it for the first time. So it was like rediscovering it anew again. And I think this is probably one of those movies where I would have been 17, 18 at the time. I wouldn't have got this film at 17. I wouldn't have got the emotional nuance in it. I think one has to be a little bit older in order to get the depth of this film. I think I probably I think with age comes experience, right? Well, ostensibly,
yes,
yeah,
I think it's
ostensibly.
I actually agree with Sean here. I watched it young as well. I loved it. I got the romantic nuances, but I think the movie changes as you get older, like many movies do. So I think I agree with there.
Where I'm coming from and why I disagree is that I loved this from quite a young age. I think that it hits differently the older you get, but I think as someone that was far too overly romantic in their teenage years and ascribing main character energy, similar to what Joel does in the film, what you can do is you can appreciate it on the different levels as you mature. So I think that we touched on this when we talked about 500 Days of Summer, when we talked about like you're the problem, dude. And I think this film kind of fits into that mold as well, in that you've got sort of the sad straight white man who's kind of giving himself that main character energy and constructing a version of memory that he wants as opposed to the version of memory that actually existed.
Well, I think what I was going to say was that appreciating it being older was it's the melancholy of the movie really got to me more. What I love about this film, and we should say, directed by Michel Gondry, scripted by Charlie Kaufman, and
both who've never been better. As far as I'm concerned.
I would agree, to be honest. I mean, I do really like adaptation. I do really like Being John Malkovich. That was directed by Spike Jonze. But what I love about this film is it's very, very attuned to both the positivity and ugliness that sits side by side with people. And even when it's highlighting very ugly emotional truths about people, there's something very exhilarating about watching a film that highlights that with such precision, like visual precision and script precision as well. I mean, it's basically this film does a spectacularly good job at constructing as a metaphor the intangible parts of ourselves, the intangible part of our memory that isn't physical, but it's made to feel physical because this is the landscape, as you said, Bo. This is the landscape that takes up the majority of the movie inside Jim Carrey's head. That's not that's illusory. It's not something that exists physically, even though it might be drawn on memories of physical places. And I think this movie does a spectacularly good job with that. It's magical, I think.
I agree. Yeah, it is, and I've seen this movie like over a dozen times now. Like 2 years ago on the episode, I would have said that because I was on dating apps back then. I'm not on dating apps anymore, thankfully. Thank goodness. Bit of riffraff out there.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that. It's yeah, I didn't like it.
I mean, your partner will be pleased to hear that, though.
She's asleep as we speak. Maybe she's listening. I'm not sure. But like, very glad of my station of life. Don't worry about that. But back when I was on dating apps, I'd advertise myself as a movie person. So as conversation, people would be like, "Oh, what's your favorite movie?" And this would be my go-to. So I adore this movie, but even now I find myself finding new things to appreciate, new things with the visual effects, for example. Like the last time I saw this movie, I was talking to Baz about it. Like when he's like really losing it, and like she's storming off, and it's all in his head, and the cars are falling out of the sky, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
She has one leg. She has one leg. Have you I don't know. People don't really notice that very much, but like it just seems off and vaguely weird, and you don't know why. It's because like they composited one of her legs out. Like all these little details. I love practical effects. I love the script, an Oscar-winning script for Charlie Kaufman, Michel Gondry, and a credit as well for Pierre Bousmuth, who came up with like the initial seed of an idea. You say they've never been better. I'd throw Jim Carrey into the mix. I'd throw Kate Winslet into the mix.
They are both revelatory in this. I think Jim Carrey in particular.
Both playing against type.
Yeah.
Playing each other's type.
I'd struggle to say Jim Carrey's never been better when, you've got Man on the Moon, you've got The Truman Show. That's, for me, serious Jim Carrey is significantly better than zany, wacky Ace Ventura Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Eternal Sunshine is certainly in the conversation.
Oh yeah, we can split hairs there if you want to, and Kate Winslet's given myriad great performances as well.
I didn't even touch the Kate Winslet of it all because she's been fantastic in so many other films.
But this is my favorite. So bias.
It's casting against type, isn't it? Because Jim Carrey is often so extroverted. So by containing that extroverted energy, you get a sense of this through this character of Jolt. There is a spirit that is trying to get out, but it's repressed, it's shy, it's awkward, and then contrast
broken.
that with broken, and you contrast that with Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet has played a variety of different characters throughout her career, but she normally plays characters that are fairly even-keeled, let's be honest, fairly grounded. And in this, she's capricious, she's flighty, she's unpredictable, she's very rude to him at the beginning, and he's completely taken aback. And it's her form of flirting. She's very aggressive, and yet somehow it clicks. I describe, you mentioned dating apps just there. The best way I can describe this film is it's as if Philip K. Dick were on Tinder. So I think his profile name could be Dick on Tinder, which would probably work quite well for a lot of people. So I mean, just
let's move along.
Let's dwell. Let's dwell.
It's because the paranoia of Philip K. Dick's stories is very, very much evident in this, and I'd be very surprised if that wasn't an influence on Charlie Kaufman in some way or another.
No,
yes,
it genuinely was.
I just wanted to move past the extremely poor pun.
I can add
sense.
something to that. And I did this on Movieversaries, if I remember correctly. But when I visited BFI, as you would both know, a bit of a mecca for film fans around the UK and other countries like me. And when I was in London, I went there, the BFI shop at South Bank there, and I bought a bunch of the BFI little books about films. And Eternal Sunshine is one of the ones that I bought, so I read that. And yes, Philip K. Dick, absolutely a major influence, stated by both director and writer. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. Very perceptive, Sean.
Thank you.
Well done, Sean. You're good at this.
That's the only bit of praise I'm going to get this year. I know that. So
have you thought of turning this into a career?
Yeah. Do you like films or something?
No, I've been faking it this entire time.
Hey, now you sound like my wife. So the chemistry between Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet is that's clear, that's obvious. There is such a bubbling chemistry between them the whole time. I think where the film does fall down a little bit for me, because it does fall down a little bit, is when we're not in Jim Carrey's head. when we're not actually seeing the memories of him and Clementine, when we are spending time with Kirsten Dunst and Mark Ruffalo and Elijah Wood and Tom Wilkinson, and specifically those first three, Kirsten Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, and an extremely creepy, unethical Elijah Wood.
Incel in the making, Elijah Wood. Yeah, he's really good as this really creepy guy in this. Yeah, he's really just sinister.
He was the prototype of the incel, yeah.
Well, he's basically using the memories that he has got from Clementine.
Of a failed relationship, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's stolen her underwear, and it's just...
and he's using that to try and seduce her.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. But the film kind of plays it for laughs.
Well, do you think so? I don't.
Interesting.
I don't think it does. I think it's very upfront in terms of initially. I mean, Elijah Wood is quite clearly a very ugly character. He's a creep, and you don't like him at all. I think Mark Ruffalo's character kind of walks us by. Kirsten Dunst initially appears to be really vapid and really annoying, but then you discover the tragedy that's happened with her as related to Tom Wilkinson's character. I think the movie does a very good job of flipping your sympathies there, of making you think, oh, I can see this character in one way, in a way that's kind of annoying, and then you realise again those ugly truths that I said at the beginning, like going back to that. I think
I'm pretty sure she's the one that gives us the title quote, isn't she?
Yes, yeah.
She does, and it's actually a really nice scene when she's reading out the quote, or she's reciting the quote to Tom Wilkinson's character Mizwiak. Because they show a bit of footage of Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet at this parade of elephants and circus performers, which was completely improvised. They heard on the day actually that it's oh shit, there's gonna be a parade in town. We should just bring the cameras, get there, just have a scene, and they did that. And then little touches like that. I love this movie. I will build around what you said there, Andy, in that, I mean, it's less interesting, I think, when you have Mark Ruffalo and Elijah Wood cracking beers, being dickheads, and Kirsten Dunst and Mark Ruffalo dancing in their underwear. I think it's not as interesting as what's going on in their head, but I think the movie completely doesn't work if Kirsten Dunst's character isn't there.
I totally agree. Yeah,
and if she doesn't move the plot into that new direction, you do not get the ending. You categorically don't. Having the structure there of her character building, revealing layers, and and the little nods they have, back when they're at the reception office and she's on the phone to some other client, and Tom Wilkinson's character comes out, puts his hand on her shoulder and calls out for Joel, and she just notices the hand there. These little moments, it just builds and builds and builds until finally the kiss happens, and it's this huge revelation, and you can have him, honey, you already did, and all of that stuff.
Oh, he mind wiped her, and she didn't know, and now she's being reminded of it, it's devastating. It's really devastating.
And it's consent. Yes, she gave consent to the procedure essentially, but she was coerced. It was protecting the man's career, and it's tragic. And she's angry,
powerful man
and
using that power,
exactly, and then continuing to employ her. What the fuck? And then it's a horror. This really ugly side of the movie is revealed, where Tom Wilkinson's character is a villain, and then you have a whole new dynamic. I love that. The older I've gotten, the more I love that dynamic.
Yeah, that's the part of me. It's very truthful. It feels very truthful to the manipulative practices of so-called ordinary people. That everyone's got an agenda, and basically what's going on internally with Jim Carrey has already been rendered externally. I think you do need that internal and external to keep you need the interior and the exterior worlds to keep the narrative dynamic, and also again to make the point about the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. What would it feel like to live in a world unblemished because you've had your mind wiped? Again, to go back to the Philip K. It's a very, very Philip K. Dick style premise. It's blackly funny, but it's very unsettling. And you to not know if you've actually got autonomy over your life or not.
It begs the question of its audience of, well, would you, right? And there's, I'm sure, different times in almost everyone's life where they go, maybe, and then there's other times where you're, absolutely not. And do you know what I mean? It's one of those that you can apply to your own life. There's a universal truth to it. What I was referring more to when they are sat around cracking beers, stealing stuff from the fridge,
Smoking
and
weed,
being
blah, 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 blah.
yeah. And so that's when it falls down for me. That's the one part of the film that I just think.
Did you not think that the movie makes a really good point, though, to their indifference to Jim Carrey being prone on the bed? Like, they are literally dancing on the bed with him, like, unconscious. And I thought that's really creepy. It's kind of like a passing thing, but I think it underlines the themes of the movie, of that
The lack of
technological
respect.
detachment from, of what's going on, don't you think?
Yeah, a complete lack of dignity.
Yes.
And the lack of dignity that comes from thinking that you're consenting to something, but you're coerced. Like, he was coerced into the procedure because she did it to him, and like he was in this horrible situation where he had this, this guilt that, and then the procedure happens, and then the people, walk around like zombies with a phantom limb because there's a huge part of them that's been just ripped from them in the middle of the night that they don't remember. They don't even remember the procedure at all.
It's terrifying. It's genuinely terrifying.
It plays like a horror movie sometimes.
It does. Yeah.
And I think, yes, I get what you're saying, Andy. I tend to agree that, like, in terms of enjoyment or engagement with those scenes, I like them less. But I think I agree with Sean by saying that the lack of dignity is the point.
I get what you mean, Andy. The pathos comes from the Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet. That's where you get the pathos from. That's where you care, I think. Well, clearly that's where you care, because you don't want to see these two characters ripped apart by circumstance. And I think there is one of the great things about the movie. Apparently the movie didn't originally end in the way that it does, because Charlie Kaufman didn't want the two characters back together. But the idea of that you can bury something so deep down in your memory where these technicians can't get to it, and you can plant a seed, Meet Me in Montauk, and that's basically, so the start of the movie is the end. So she's kind of planted that subconscious cue. It's almost like Inception before Inception, really. You plant that cue, and then the relationship can then start again, which is where at the beginning of the film starts at the end, which is brilliant. So narratively, it's fantastic. So we kind of, we start at the end of the film, then we circle back to that point on that slightly redemptive, well, I'd say actually pretty redemptive note, which is that this can work in spite of the machinations of the company.
Can I just build on that? Because the first time I watched the movie, I've told this story before, but I bought it on DVD because it was high up on the IMDb list, so I took it home, watched it. I was living with the parents at the time. It would have finished around midnight, maybe a little bit after, and I just hit play again. I loved it. And Joel and Clementine became like one of my favorite romantic couples. The older I've gotten, the more I've thought, oh, do I want them back together? Like, do I, like, there is chemistry there. There is love there. I think the memories are worth keeping. Absolutely. It's worth fighting for the memories. But I'm not entirely sure I want them to be together after seeing at least Joel's perspective, by the way, not her perspective, of those 2 years. And I don't know where I sit. I don't want them to have their autonomy removed, but I don't know if I like them as a couple.
Yeah.
The older I get.
When you were younger, were you far more? Oh, absolutely. They end. I want to see them together.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And the older I've gotten, the more I've been like, yeah, no, she is rude to him, and he is dismissive of her, and I mean, he even says pretty rude stuff to her, kind of off the bat, like in the flea market there, where she's talking about wanting a kid, and he's like, are you? And you're just like, whoa.
She steals his car when she's drunk, and and it's kind of like it. Oh,
it's just a scratch, Jolie.
Yeah, I think
absolutely
maybe
not a scratch.
yeah. It's not Monty Python. It's weird. It's more than a scratch. I think what I like about the movie is there's the potential for, even if you don't necessarily think they're compatible as a couple, they at least deserve the potential. They deserve the promise of being able to start again. They deserve to be given the chance of having a second go of it. And they do that themselves. Clemmy does that with Joel. And I love the suggestion that what parts of ourselves are ultimately in control, how much of our personalities are made of the illusory versus the physical. I think that's a really, really interesting concept. And I think the way that, as I said at the beginning, the way this movie makes the intangible tangible is amazing. I mean, the fact that it does it almost entirely, I think actually entirely through practical and optical effects and the acting, amazing.
There is some computer generated effect, like, Bo mentioned the half of Clementine's leg missing, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
very
there
few,
are
though.
some bits, but yes, very, very, considering how lucid and surreal some of the imagery gets.
Yeah.
Michel Gondry, I think, directing this was an absolute
Brilliant.
revelation. Like, he'd come from TV commercials, he'd come from music videos, and
Some of my favorites.
I mean, wasn't there one in particular you suggested on the Movieversaries episode?
There's a few that I'd point you to. Like, basically, if you type in Michel Gondry music video into YouTube, you'll come up with a bunch. He's done a bunch of work with the Chemical Brothers, which was really great. I think of the song
was that?
Star Guitar, which is it's like being in a train and you're watching like landscapes and buildings go past, but then you start to realize, well, actually, all these buildings are like timed to different instruments. Chemical Brothers song is brilliant. Around the World by Daft Punk, very similar. It's dances and it just looks like
Oh
regular
yes, he
dancing.
did that, didn't he? Yeah, I'd forgotten he'd done that. The video for that,
But,
yeah.
but it is actually again timed to different elements of the song. My favorite is "Come Into My World" by Australian legend Kylie Minogue, which starts with her just walking around like a UK block and singing the song, and there's like things happening in the background. Someone's painting a building, someone's getting thrown out of their house and having their clothes thrown to them on the street, kids playing hopscotch, whatever it is. The second time around, it's just like one continuous tracking shot, and then like, oh, suddenly there's two Kylie Minogues. Oh, there's two people painting their house. Oh, there's two kids playing hopscotch, and then there's three, and then there's four, and it's timed so perfectly. I think it's genius. He directed that. I think he is literally one of the goats at music videos.
In camera effects, absolutely in camera effects. So you buy it. You
The hardest
it.
button to button by the White Stripes, which is it just like has like copies of both Meg White and Jack White throughout the song, like just going through like a subway and going through a park, and like there's like 10 drums on. It's brilliant, utterly brilliant. He's one of the goats, absolutely, no question.
Yeah, I mean, he did Everlong by Foo Fighters.
Yes,
which
another great
is
one.
Actually very similar to Eternal Sunshine, because we live in a dream world, and then suddenly one of their hands gets ridiculously big, and and Dave Grohl decides to use it. So that's actually referenced in one of the Foo Fighters' latest songs. So at time of recording, Foo Fighters have just released a new album, and in the video they released to go alongside the album, somebody is watching that video on the TV whilst the window cleaner looks in. It's about a window cleaner.
So
cool.
Can I just I understand we're stuck for time. I don't want to like get into it per se, but one thing I want to point out is that there are so many levels to this story, and you can read it so many different ways. Like, you can read it as hopeful with the relationship and how aspirational it is. You can go the other way, like we've talked about. I've done both throughout my life. A couple of years ago, I was watching it, and I was like, and like the more I've learned about psychology and the stages of grief, this movie plays like that. It starts with denial, and then anger as the cars are falling out of the sky, bargaining, depression, eventually acceptance.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is we can't stop this now. Let's just enjoy it. At least give a goodbye. Like, it plays like the stages of change. The stages of grief. So there's so many little elements there. I just wanted to put a little post-it note there so that the audience and maybe you guys can sit there and go, oh yeah, wow, it does have that, and go back and watch it again and really appreciate everything that they're doing, like how her hair color changes depending on what stage they're in. The really bright red hair.
Years and years ago, I noticed that. That was one of the first things. Because I was I was about 14 when I first watched this, and it was around about the time I was beginning to discover media studies as an idea, and it was
color theory and stuff like that.
For that, exactly, it was perfect for that, because you can there's so much in this film to try and deconstruct, and there is a lot of surface that is wonderful to deconstruct, but similarly, the more you dig down in the ethics and the psychology of the whole thing, there is also that. So I completely agree with you there, Bo.
I think that is a hallmark of Charlie Kaufman's work. And I mean, so well about Charlie Kaufman's work in the relatively modern age. I mean, I would say Charlie Kaufman has now kind of gone off the deep end into self-indulgent nonsense. But there was a time where he was an extraordinary writer. I think this film probably represents him at his peak. I think for me, and I love the way that Charlie Kaufman is, I think, very even-handed with his characters. He's not backwards and coming forwards in examining people being misanthropic, because I think everyone has got misanthropic qualities up to a certain point. Even the most well-intentioned, bubbly, like flirtatious, vivacious person has probably got like a difficult side to them. Even the quietest person has got a difficult side to them. And this is a hallmark of Charlie Kaufman's work. When you think of things like Adaptation, you think of later things like Anomalisa. And I think one of the reasons why this film is so interesting is because it was a clash of two, I think, very singular and quite combustible personalities. You've got Michel Gondry on one end and Charlie Kaufman on the other end. And I don't think either of them wanted to budge on their respective visions for the movie.
Well, keep in mind, this was their second collaboration.
Yes,
so
it was Human Nature was the first one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Michel Gondry's directorial debut, as far as cinema goes, was also written by Charlie Kaufman.
But it was quite widely reported on this that Gondry was tweaking the script, key beats in the script, and Kaufman wasn't very happy about it. I did mention the fact that the original ending was changed, and but I think that's what makes the movie work. I think that tension, you've got this weird mixture of this kind of almost like a movie that's been shot guerrilla style on the street. I think the actors did say this. It was shot in guerrilla fashion, like you mentioned earlier, Bo, like just going out and randomly capturing that carnival on the day. You know, you've got this kind of spontaneous guerrilla lo-fi filmmaking mixed with these high concept visuals and a very, very weighty philosophical script that I think allows for both ugliness and redemption in equal measure. There's lots of different parts fighting for dominance. So I think it's amazing that it comes together as well as it does. I'd say if it does, it's because of the two central actors. They cohere, like we understand them, even if we don't know them, I think. But yeah.
I agree. I completely agree. I think that it's a film that only rewards rewatching, and it can be done so at a basic level, but it can also be done at an extremely high-end level, which, yeah, whilst, you know, some of the scenes with Mark Ruffalo and with Elijah Wood kind of fall down a little bit for me. That's, I think, the let me up that you need when you've got such intense chemistry between your two lead actors in Carey and Winslet.
Are you saying that Mark Ruffalo in tighty whities and spectacles doesn't do it for you?
That's not what I said.
All right, that's a yes then.
No, that part is capital G great. That is.
Are you trying to get the old?
Yes.
Capital G great.
Yes, I am. Give yourself a subtle round of applause. A tepid round of applause. No, I think I.
That's literally how I recorded that, Sean.
Yeah.
Just clapping into a mic by yourself. Yeah. What a weirdo! You're weird.
We're all a little bit weird here.
Yeah, that's true.
But as you mentioned, Bo, it won Best Original Screenplay at the Academy Awards for Pierre Bismuth, Michel Gondry, and Charlie Kaufman. Kate Winslet was nominated for Best Actress that year. It also won the Best Original Screenplay at the BAFTAs, alongside the Best Editing for Valdis Oscar Dottir. So I think the editing does need a good shout out, because if this wasn't edited as seamlessly as it is, it would be far less coherent.
Valdis is on the podium for me, and the podium would be like Kaufman, Winslet, and Oscar's Dottir for me.
But we don't do MVPs over on this podcast. That you've got to check out Movieversaries for that one. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll be discussing No Country for Old Men. And we're back. Sean, you have been elected for giving us the plot from the Yeats quoting. So William Butler Yeats' poem, Sailing to Byzantium, also has the words No Country for Old Men in it. So you're going to give us the plot synopsis for No Country.
Can I just bump it in really quickly? When you said, in my head, this is how like Gen Z coded I am as a millennial, is that you said Yeats coded, and the first thing I thought of was yeeting something. You know, like
what, out the
throwing
window?
something.
Yeet it,
yeeting it out the window or throwing it off a balcony.
Yeah.
So as soon as you're like Yeats code, I'm like, what? No, okay, sorry. I just took this incredibly lowbrow. I'm really sorry about that.
No country to
Yes.
yeet old men. I only discovered what that was the other yeet. I'd never seen that before. I was like, yeet? I was okay, because I'm just old and, pushing 40 and I'm clearly...
Yeah, I'm down with the kids, So.
You are more than me. Compared to me, you definitely are. Yeah.
I mean, I'm clearly younger than both of you because I'm absolutely on board with eating.
Yeah.
I say yeeting. Yeah. I don't talk about yeetsing much, but let's yeets.
Let's yeets this. So 2007 Coen Brothers movie, which was widely acclaimed as their comeback vehicle after a couple of stalled and not very good projects. But effectively, like Intolerable Cruelty and The Lady Killers. They came roaring back with this adaptation of the 2005 Cormac McCarthy novel. Obviously, Cormac McCarthy we lost fairly recently, who is extraordinary American author, very, very nihilistic, very interesting use of language, wrote in very, very stark, poetic, brutal terms about the American West. And this is actually one of his more straightforward movies, and it's adapted remarkably faithfully by Joel and Ethan Coen. Most of the dialogue in the film is actually lifted straight from the book.
You've read the book, right, Sean? I assume you have.
Yeah, I read the book. I've read a lot of McCarthy. Was an extraordinary writer, and it's funny because there is a trait of dark, sardonic, deadpan humor in his books, and I think this is why it's alchemical with this, because Joel and Ethan Coen have got that. Everyone knows they've got that quality in spades in their films, going right the way back to Blood Simple, which is also set in Texas, like No Country for Old Men is. So we start off in with the Terrell County Sheriff Ed Tom Bell, played by Tommy Lee Jones, who starts with this, incredibly evocative voiceover lamenting. As the film starts, it's 1980, lamenting the violence that is increasingly incoherent and illogical violence that seems to be taking over society and against which he feels absolutely powerless, which is causing him to speculate about the world in which he lives and whether he actually wants to keep serving as a sheriff. Because, as he says, his ancestors, his father and his grandfather, both served as a sheriff, but did they ever actually come up against anything as evil as what he's seeing? We're promptly then introduced to hitman Anton Chigurh, played by the Oscar-winning Javier Bardem. Almost certainly, I think, one of the most terrifying characters I've ever seen in a film ever. And I will say outright, I think this is actually one of the scariest films that I've ever seen in the cinema. Not that it's strictly a horror film, but it comes close at times.
Is that because Anton Chigurh has the same haircut that you had as a child?
I knew you were going to bring that up. Yeah, I flippantly...
I need photos immediately.
I flippantly kind of jokingly said I had a page boy haircut at school, and now I had to jump in and go, no, I didn't have a page boy, I had a bowl haircut. And now this has now become a running thing on the podcast. So I was basically Anton Chigurh at school. Was like, I didn't have the bolt gun, though.
Walking around with like a straight up bolt gun just to...
Yeah. No one messed with me on the playground, I'd say that. Yeah, they just laughed.
I thought we said Elijah Wood was the incel.
yeah, it's always the quiet ones. Yeah. So he escapes police custody. So you have Ed Tom's narrative, you have Chigurh's narrative, and then you have the third narrative, which is Llewellyn Moss, played by Josh Brolin, who is out hunting in the desert and comes across a stash of drug money, which after a moment's deliberation, he decides to keep. In a moment of conscience, he returns to the site of the drug bust gone wrong to give one of the guys water. The guy turns out to be dead. Moss is then forced to flee from the remnants of the cartel that have turned up. And of course, the case of money has got a transponder in it, which he doesn't realise until too late. In that time, Shiger has been put on Moss's trail to basically bring the money back, come hell or high water, and Shiger...
That's a different movie.
It is. Yeah, it's set in not too dissimilar environment, though, I would say. And Shiger is a fascinating, if horrifying, character who determines people's fate based purely on chance by flipping a coin, heads or tails. So anyone that comes across Shiger's path is basically fair game. And obviously he has Moss in his sights. So you effectively have like a stripped down neo-noir Western plot, but spiced up with some really rich, like not just really rich, fascinating dialogue. Again, that Texas vernacular for which Cormac McCarthy was so famous, but also some incredibly bleak and mordant philosophical undercurrents that lament the state of the world. I mean, I think it might be apparent. I think this film is a masterpiece. I love it as much as I did when I saw it back in the cinema. I'd now like to know what you guys think of it.
Well, I have a story. I was a budding cinephile at this point in history, and I went to the local shopping center that had a cinema with my girlfriend at the time. So I'm quite young, like 19, I guess. And a bunch of girls from school, no boys, and they're just like, oh, let's kill some time, let's go see a movie. And I'm like, okay, no worries, let's go see a movie, like whatever. And they're like, what should we see? And I'm like, I don't know, I've heard this one has a good chance of winning the Oscar, so let's go watch this. And we went and watched No Country for Old Men, which went down like a lead balloon with these girls, especially the ending where it's just Tommy Lee Jones talking, and then
I get that. I get that. Yeah, I feel your pain.
which by the way, I at that point I remember specifically being like, you know how sometimes like you can, I don't know if you guys do this, but like you can feel a movie ending and you're just like, oh yeah, please end it here, please. And like Fellowship of the Ring refused to, you know what I mean? But like I said that about
I think
like 10
the word
times
you're
in that movie.
referring to is climax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please. Oh yes. Please. Climax. Do it for me. And I'm watching this.
That's an eternal
happen.
sunshine nightmare when time.
and I'm yeah, like this is audio that Andy's gonna use later, and I'm just gonna clip it and just keep it for a special
I'll make
stash.
it readily available for anyone who needs.
Oh yeah, well feel free if you want to hear this rubbish. But I was like, please, like, come on, please, like, this is it. This is perfect. This feels great. You know, bookend it with him talking about this sort of theme and everything. And then it does, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like masterpiece, feels great. These girls were like loudly upset in the cinema.
Yeah,
I never saw them again, like most of them, to be honest. But I love this movie. This movie will always be linked with There Will Be Blood in my head because it is like one of the great Oscars showdowns. It's one of the ones where the Oscars really couldn't go wrong as long as they picked one of those two, in my opinion. And I'm actually
like this year.
Up with One Battle and Sinners. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good comparison.
And
PTA
I would
for you.
say, I would say I prefer this one over There Will Be Blood. So I was really happy with this winning. I love it. I adore this movie. Honestly, watching it again recently was maybe slightly less appreciation for some things. There was just some elements of like it being such a boyish story and stuff like that I probably bumped against a little bit. But in terms of like construction and tension and choices to like not use music and all that sort of stuff,
I'll come back to that. I was just going to say I'll come back to that. Just
knocking it out of the park.
Well,
And
I
so
mean,
many
Carter
technical
Burwell did
aspects.
do score, didn't he?
Yeah, it's unbelievably discreet score. There is a score there, but it's mainly like a drone. There are drones in there, but you'd be forgiven for thinking there was no music in it because it is mostly
more like a sound design then.
Yeah, more like. And then Carter Burwell showed remarkable restraint and a lack of ego for that because we're used to thrillers being propped up and supported and overtaken by their music. You think of Psycho, Bernard Herrmann. This movie, I would say, is almost as intense as Psycho with very, very little music in it at all. And I think that's a testament to how brilliant the Coen brothers are because I remember like you, Bo, I remember watching this in the cinema, and I was on the edge of my seat with no need for manipulative music. I was terrified and gripped, and it's just like Anton Chigurh is like the stuff of nightmares, and Bardem's performance is amazing, absolutely amazing. I think
that is a very interesting comparison that I'd not thought of before. Just how tense it is and how unstoppable Chigurh is in contrast to Norman Bates, for example. Yeah, he's a Terminator. He's literally killing everyone in his path. But I think crucially,
as long as the coin falls a certain way.
That's the thing. The first time we see him utilize the coin is when someone doesn't die. They call it correctly. Yeah. And then, so we know that he will follow through on that, because if he was just to have killed that guy, and it was, even if like the guy called it wrong and he killed him, we as an audience would then think, oh, he's just going to kill them anyway.
Yeah.
But totally. Because it landed the way it landed, the narrative choice, which I would imagine goes back to the Cormac McCarthy novel,
does.
The narrative choice to have that come up and him walk away at that point, brilliant.
It gives the movie more unpredictability in terms of how do we read this character, because I would personally say that Chigurh is very, very, very redolent of a character that has appeared repeatedly in Coen Brothers film. Basically, a satanic archetype, effectively like the devil. Basically, I mean, you think of John Goodman in Barton Fink, you think of Peter Stormare in Fargo. These very satanic individuals that cause chaos and death and destruction. The Coen Brothers love this. You think of the Dane in Miller's Crossing.
They also love a man that is out of his depth completely.
Yes.
That is stumbling through, trying to do what they believe is the right thing. They love the Llewellyn Moss character.
Yeah.
And he is played brilliantly by Josh Brolin. I don't think I was too aware of Brolin sort of between Goonies and No Country. And then
me too.
With No Country, he skyrocketed back.
This brought him back. It brought him back. It really did.
Even he played a young Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black 3. So there's a connection for both memory from the last movie as well as the two actors in this movie.
I love Chigurh as a character. So this is back to Javier Bardem. This is the level of insight that I bring to the podcast here. I'm going to read the top thing on IMDb trivia. So
other movie websites are available, by the way.
Yep. According to a January 2018 article in Business Insider, a group of psychiatrists studied 400 movies and identified over 100 psychopathic characters. They chose this character, Anton Chigurh, as the most accurately portrayed psychopath. And it all comes back to like those little his idea of negotiation is talking to Josh Brolin's character, being like, "Look, you're gonna die, but I'll spare your wife if you make it easier for me." And then he goes to her eventually, being like, "I made a promise, so the best I can do is flip a coin."
There's like a code of ethics there, but it's the most twisted kind of code of ethics you've ever seen,
and it makes sense to him.
Yes, and that I think that's probably
this is ethical. This is good.
That's the essence of psychopathy, isn't it? Or sociopathy, when the way you think the world operates, the way you see it, and you are so detached from the way everybody else would see the world, which is what makes the character so terrifying. He's authentic. And he doesn't seem human, and I think that's very deliberate. In the book, they do actually describe more pragmatic details of the character's background, and I actually think one of the improvements in the film is they ditch all that in the film. He is just this enigmatic figure in the film who emerges out of the desert, being arrested by the cop at the beginning. He strangles him with his handcuffs in that really horrifying opening sequence, and I love the mystery that the Coen brothers play up around the character in the film. There's also a lot of Ed Tom Bell's backstory that got ditched in the film as well. There's more of that in the book, as I think connected to Vietnam. That relates to Chigurh as well. But
that's the thing, we don't need that at all.
No.
Did you know? I'm sure, Bo, you did, that Javier Bardem was not only the first Spanish actor to be nominated for an Academy Award prior to this, but in No Country for Old Men, he became the first Spanish actor that won the Academy Award. Do you know what that first film was?
Well, no, I don't actually. I don't. I'm just trying to think.
Sean?
No, you got me. I've got no idea.
So the first film that a Spanish actor was nominated for was Before Night Falls. In 2000.
Yes.
So, and that again was Javier Bardem. He played the lead in that with Johnny Depp, who's in the movie as well.
Yes.
Interestingly,
Yeah, I haven't
music
seen that one.
also by Carter Burwell.
Yeah. So Carter Burwell and Javier Bardem have got previous. They've got previous form. I think that this movie is brilliant because it is a coherent narrative, but you can also see it as a series of remarkable vignettes. For example, the hotel chase when he tracks him down with the transponder, which is utterly gut wrenching when I saw it in the cinema. And
Wild West Heat.
Yeah, but the bit where Tommy Lee Jones goes to meet his relative Ellis, played by Barry Corbin, which is very important because that effectively it comes about towards the end of the movie, effectively, and encapsulates all the themes of the movie. Like, you can't stop what's coming, it ain't all waiting on you. That's vanity, and it's like that's it. That's the line that sums up the whole film.
Was that Matthew McConaughey?
Well, the thing is, right, you step out in the middle of the desert and there's this man riding a wheelchair. It's like, what's he doing here? No, it's not. It's not. Wouldn't be surprised if he turned up though. It's like,
I love just calling up actors through history and just getting you to. It's like imagine if Jimmy Stewart was Josh Brolin. No, let's not. I can see Andy's face. Let's not do that.
So there was a man who was once asked to perform like a performing monkey, but he decided not to. It's just, yeah.
Have you got a Woody Harrelson in there? I think you might have a Woody Harrelson.
You don't have to do this. I'm a day trader, and I just go home. And it's just like that.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. Yeah.
I can do a Josh Brolin. In this movie specifically, I can do a Josh Brolin.
Go on.
Is that Sly? Sly's coming out.
Adrian. Yo. I did it. Actually, Woody Harrelson would be more like, you have any idea how crazy you are? You mean the nature of this conversation? I mean the nature of you. That scene is brilliant.
I
because
love that.
Woody Harrelson's shit scared, I'm about to die acting is some of the best that I've ever seen in a film. And it makes it so much more frightening.
I do think he's like tragically underrated as an actor.
Yes, I do actually, yeah.
He's one of those people that just you sprinkle him into a movie or a TV show, as they did with True Detective, and he just makes it better by him being in it. By virtue of having Woody Harrelson, you just make everything slightly better. And, you know, you look through this cast list, it is wall to wall with great people. Like, a guy who doesn't have a name. We've got Stephen Root as Man Who Hires Wells.
Yeah. And who gets a bunch of bird shot to the face. That's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And like he's brilliant. You know, Kelly MacDonald is, underutilized.
But she's really good in the scenes that she's in because that's another thing. At the end of the book, when it comes full circle for Carla Jean Moore, she's buried, her husband's dead, her mother's dead, Shiger comes back for her. In the book, she actually collapses in a fit of panic. She actually cries. They changed that in the film to show that she's not so easily swayed by Shiger. And that was a brilliant decision, I think. It gives Kelly MacDonald more subtle material to work with. And the way she counters his philosophy, it's like the coin don't have no say. It's just you. Well, I got here the same way the coin did. And it's like, okay. So it kind of flips it. I think it's an interesting way of showing how you can adapt material. I think.
Yeah. Well, this is their first adaptation as far as Joel is concerned. There was influences on earlier work. For example, Miller's Crossing was kind of a Dashiell Hammett story. Oh Brother Art Thou was basically the Odyssey. So, you know, but No Country for Old Men is their first straightforward adaptation. And what Joel Coen said was, if you're going to adapt anyone, why not start with the best? Why not start with Cormac McCarthy? And I think they're right. I think that when you look at the marriage between material and directors, like we've already said how much certain characters echo that of the other work that the Coens had done. So it's just that for them to shoot back into the cinematic limelight, and they went on an incredible run after this, and they went back to another Welsh name in 2013. They went to Inside Llewyn Davis. But we've not seen them together since The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, they really need to start working together again, and someone needs to stop Ethan Coen from working on his own with his wife, because
someone should just say, "Look, honey, don't."
yeah.
Can we somehow isolate the clap at the end of the capital G great, and just slow clap that one? That was good.
Yeah,
good though.
That was good. Yeah. I do want to get your guys' thoughts on that scene when Ed Tom Bell meets Ellis, because it's brilliantly atmospheric. He's in his wheelchair. He's in the middle of this shack in the desert. He's surrounded by all these cats, and he basically brings Ed Tom Bell down to a version of reality. It's like every generation has suffered with violence. Every generation has suffered with the ancestry of violence. There's not inherently anything new about what's going on in the film's time period. I wonder what you guys thought of that scene.
Like any other scene in the movie, I enjoyed it. I think the older I get, the more I appreciate the Tommy Lee Jones scenes generally. And his character, is it propaganda? A bit, like a little bit, but and that's probably something that I bump up against a little bit, being the tanky that I am these days. But I would say, yeah, like any other scene that he's in, if you take away the whole police aspect of his role, he is somebody that believes in duty and serving community and knowing the people around him, and like a real, like, I do believe that police can be a good thing. I currently believe in ACAB, but I think that if police were like him, I would actually really like police. I think that'd be great. People that actually serve. I had a problem last night. This is maybe a sidebar, but there was like a homeless woman yelling like late at night near our place, and I know that she was homeless because she was telling us loudly that she was homeless, and she was clearly distressed. And my first thought was, I need to call somebody to help her, but who do I call? Because the police is going to harass her. That's what police should be. Police should be like this guy, like dedicated to justice, trying to protect people, knowing the people of his community, and having a clear sense of servitude. I want to serve my community. I'm not doing this for ego. And having the wherewithal to understand what it is too much for him. He is too big for his boots, and the movie goes through a lot of that. And I think my favorite thing for him is maybe not that scene with Ellis. I think it's actually the very last one where he's telling the story about, and it's evocative, like, my father died a young man, so I'm older than he'll ever be.
Yeah,
but in the dream, he's younger, but he's your dad, so he's like this figure, and it's like this. It's amazing, right? And it gets you thinking about, like, shit. When my parents had me, they were like 28.
Yeah,
they were kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The idea that that one's deceased parent can be like calcified at a certain age, like they're calcified in your minds. Yeah. And
you're a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. Are you basically going to play catch up with them, at some point? And is there some kind of redemption in that? Is it really No Country for Old Men? Is it a question of like, right, we all have to basically shuffle off this planet, which is increasingly going to seed, and is becoming overrun with gang violence, with seemingly like random acts of violence as engendered by sugar.
Something rubbish like drugs and money, like shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's a very Coen Brothers thing. The idea of the money. I know, Andy, you said earlier, like the Coen Brothers tropes, money being the root of all problems. It's a Coen Brothers thing, isn't it? And
does this sit alongside their best work? In my opinion, it does. In my
Yeah,
opinion,
it
it does.
does.
Like, you think of their best work, which is a list, right?
Yes.
This is
Intolerable Cruelty, The Lady Killers. Yeah.
yeah, the greats. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where Homer should have a co-writing credit.
Would that it were so simple.
I really liked Hail Caesar. I did like.
I
Hail
do actually. I really like it. Yeah,
it's not capital G great, but but this is.
Yeah,
this is capital G
The-
great.
the-
This
I'd
might be
say
a
this
capital M masterpiece.
This is one of the great. I'd say this is one of the greatest films made in probably like the last 30 or 40 years. It's a towering achievement. I think everything comes together beautifully well. We haven't even mentioned Roger Deakins, the great Roger Deakins on cinematography duties, who
The natural light in that Jeep chase.
Yeah, and the opening montage of the sun poking above that dusty landscape, and what is the sun threatening? What violence is it threatening to reveal as the sun comes up? The way Roger Deakins can take these are very austere landscapes. I mean, they are dramatic, but the way he invests them with so much character is remarkable. Is genuinely remarkable. He's extraordinary.
To be fair, he did grow up with a view of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and wildebeest sweeping majestically across the plain as a native of Torquay.
I wish to be able to see the sea. You can see the sea; it's over there between the land and the sky. I'm from Torquay, and Roger Deakins is from my hometown of Torquay, so I'm very proud of that. So
yes,
I didn't even know he was English.
Sir Roger Deakins, we should say. But considering you talk about how masterfully he manages to photograph the American interior and how he manages to make these images really sparkle and bring the Coen Brothers story to life, that is coming from an English kid from Torquay who grew up at the seaside, right? It's a wonderful achievement. It's something that he's done consistently across his career, but then you look at some of the collaborations that he's had with people like Sam Mendes and Denis Villeneuve and the Coen Brothers. He's arguably one of the greatest cinematographers of all time.
I think he brings to this
John Cardiff.
Yeah. He brings an outsider's eye to this. He brings an English person's eye. To an English person, there might be nuances in this Texas landscape that an American wouldn't even notice, that an American might take as read. And the way that Deakins does that, and we also need to. So we mentioned the discretion of the music, the sound design in this. I mean, just the little nuances, like when Shiger takes his shoes off and goes to anticipate who he thinks is Moss in the adjoining motel room, and it turns out to be the Mexicans who've got a transponder of their own. The bit before he busts in, he sets the air canister down on the ground, and there's this barely perceptible clang, and it's kind of like one of the most apocalyptic, doom-laden sounds I think I've ever heard in a film. It presages horrible violence whenever you hear it. It's the attention to technical detail in this film is off the charts brilliant. I think it's so immersive.
I think that whilst on a thematic level, we can probably sit and discuss Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind for an entire episode alone. We could do that with a technical perspective on No Country for Old Men. That's not to say that the technical of Eternal Sunshine and the philosophical in No Country are not equally as worthy, but I think they are the crowning achievement of both of those films.
Yeah.
Considering that Deakins also shot The Village for M. Night Shyamalan.
I'm sorry, but I actually quite like The Village. I think The Village is needs to be reappraised by people. Roger Deakins did do a beautiful job on that. Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
sure.
He's one of the great. I mean, you mentioned earlier, like arguably one of the greatest, and I'm like, I think the word "arguably" is being kind to a lot of people. Like, if you're talking about like one of the greatest being like what, top 10, like yeah. Like Roger Deakins is in the top 10.
Yeah,
he may well be on the Rushmore. You know what I mean? Like,
I pulled out Jack Cardiff
current.
as a comparison. I pulled out the man who shot A Matter of Life and Death and The Red Shoes, and the African Queen. So, you know, I think as far as a comparative goes, you know, again, Chaplin, arguably. You can't almost have a
Of current, you'd have to say it'd be him or Lebesky in terms of consistent work over a couple of decades now, you know, like...
I mean, I'd say recently Greg Fraser, who recently shot Project Hail Mary, but did June as well. He's very much on the ascent now. Yeah.
Hoyt van Hoytema?
Yeah, Hoyt van Hoytema, yeah. With his work
unfortunately, he's just worked with Nolan, though, so that makes him bad. I was going to do another Matthew McConaughey impression. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Nolan's movies mostly look pretty good. Like, let's be fair. Yeah, that's fair enough.
I think if we're talking current, then it takes the arguable out of it. It's Roger Deakins.
Yeah, he's on the Rushmore currently, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think he could well be on the Rushmore of all time, but for me personally, he is. It was a massive hit, as you mentioned, Bo. It went head-to-head with There Will Be Blood, and we kind of put off doing both of those movies on this podcast because we didn't want to do them together because they are intrinsically tied together for life.
Yeah,
but
Birdman,
we wanted to find other reasons.
You know, like these movies are just they feel linked in my
Birdman
head.
Can fuck off.
No, Birdman and Boyhood are linked because of the Oscars debate. Like, it was one of those two movies. They're like, when these two things happen, and it happens a lot, 1917 and Parasite, right? Like, it's going to be one of those two movies that wins Best Picture, and they're
La La
linked
Land
forever.
and Moonlight.
Exactly. I mean, as you said this year, One Battle and Sinners. Like these, when these big juggernaut movies go head to head like this, and it's just them or them, they're linked forever. And this is probably on the Rushmore of greatest ever battles, I think.
We're talking about Rushmore a lot, which is Wes Anderson movies.
Don't bring up Wes Anderson.
we're a pro-American American presidents podcast, aren't we? Yeah.
Well,
big on American.
Well,
we're big on American imperialism.
Yeah.
We love American imperialism. Yay, America!
But that's not what No Country for Old Men is talking about. We just want to make that absolutely clear. Like, No Country for Old Men is an intelligently adapted movie, and it doesn't make those kind of assumptions. We just want to make that clear. It's a fantastic film.
So what we're trying to say here is...
Suck it, Bo!
I mean,
this is not good for an audio medium. This is not good for an audio medium, but you are receiving the finger, my friend, for that.
Lucky me. This was made for $25 million, which is frankly absurd when you look at the talent of the people involved. $25 million for No Country for Old Men is frankly ridiculous. And the fact that they did what they did with it and made it look as beautiful as they did, shout out to the Coens for that. It took $171.6 million at the box office. It was, like I said, a towering success and one of the two big Oscar movies of that year, of which it won 4. It won for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem, and the Best Adapted Screenplay.
It was also only the 4th Western to win an Oscar for Best Picture. So it's historic in that sense, very historic. Yeah.
What were the other three?
That's going to test the memory. So one of them is obviously Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. You've also got Dances with Wolves, and you've got Cimarron from the 1930s. So
yes,
I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah. No, now that you mention it, and Dances with Wolves, like, it's funny. I don't remember it as a Western, but it is.
Yeah, it's a Western. So, almost certainly.
Cimarron is absolutely one of those forgot-to-go movies. So we are going to say thank you very much to the great Bo Nicholson for waking up absurdly early in your time zone and joining us for this episode. We couldn't possibly have talked about one of these two movies, let alone both of them, without you. So thank you very much for joining us. Tell us where people can find you.
Well, I just want to point out that you could have done it without me, but it would have cost you a friendship.
That sounds like a kind of Coen Brothers style debt deal. That.
I'd like to think we're stronger than that. As I said before, links in show notes. Movieversaries with Andy Williams, of course, and Ian Buckley and the great Violet Hammond, where we do significant films on significant anniversaries. So this one's actually No Country for Old Men up for debate next year about whether it ages well. Shock. Me and Andy are going to say, yeah, it's pretty good. Then, of course, Academy Watch. An increased cadence this year in terms of episodes. I usually just stick to my lane, which is the awards season, but I'm going to pop up every now and then.
Swerving all over the road.
Yeah. It's just like taking out pedestrians and everything. And I'm going, I don't know where my brain went there. Weird. Anyway, I'm going to drive through the rain soon. Yeah, like we talked about Project Hail Mary recently, Andy, because that might be a player. You know, it might have some Oscar nominations. I saw Michael the other day, much to my chagrin, and could it? Yeah, Sylvester Stallone vomiting over there. Could it be an Oscar nominee? The answer is yes, because Bohemian Rhapsody won 4 Oscars. Like,
I know. Yeah.
It could be. It shouldn't be.
It's a music biopic. It will get nominated. It will get nominated for something, whether it wins.
Tell that to Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere.
Oh, actually, that's true.
Which was a better movie. Which was not a great movie, I don't think. But both, yes. But this one, I don't know if people saw my Letterboxd review of it, but this has entered the Mike Myers as a record label type in the absolute worst music biopic you ever did see cinematic universe, because he was in Bohemian Rhapsody in that really egregious scene, and he does exactly the same fucking role in this movie. Like, why? I don't know. I can't
I was waiting for what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Anyway, Michael's terrible, but I might talk about it for Academy Watch coming up soon. Who knows? Could be an opportunity to talk shit about it for half an hour. You just got a preview of that. And obviously, come and chat with us in the Discord. There'll be a link to that in the show notes as well, I'm sure, from Andy. So, come say hello. It's the best place to find us.
Yes, indeed. So do feel free to check out all of the links in the show notes, as Bo mentioned, with both what Bo is doing, what Sean and I are doing, because Sean, I know you've had a few things going on recently. You've been here, there, and everywhere promoting everything, haven't you?
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
It's yeah, Here, There, and Everywhere is actually my favourite Beatles song as well. But yeah, I've been doing a few things. We have Forbidden Worlds Film Festival in Bristol. I introduced Lady Hawk. I did a live interview with David Arnold for the London Soundtrack Festival. Yeah, it's been a busy month. It's nice to be able to come back and do this again. So after a breather of a few weeks, it genuinely is nice to come back.
I feel like Pavlov's dog right now, because I heard name checking and no spittoon, and it was very, very off-putting. It was very off-putting. Yeah, Lady Hawk and David Arnold, and no spittoon. Andy, that's poor. That's poor. And I was distressed. I didn't know what universe
I can only apologize. If it helps, the reason for that was because I was checking that on our notes we have next up, our theme will be alcohol as truth serum. So this is something that we've promised for a while, but that we're looking at 2 films which use alcohol as a truth serum. So you'll be able to check that out next week when it drops as part of Punch and Pie Media. Just want to say once again, thank you very much, Bo Nicholson, for joining us. And until next week, where we're discussing alcohol as truth serum, I'm Andy Williams.
I'm Sean Wilson.
And I'm Bo Nicholson.
And thank you very much for listening. Do check out everything else across the Punch and Pie Media Network, as well as the Discord in the show notes. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.